Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Aria and I am so honored to be in your presence today. I am taking a moment to really just speak all about light language and just my own personal experience when I began kind of waking up to this gift within me to now, where I am really just diving deeper into where it actually comes from, why it's in my life and in so many others' lives, and just the truth of it all, and just seeing how it really correlates with channeling and really like this like false way of channeling that people are calling it, and all this like new age stuff. And there's just so much information going around, and I just highly suggest you really tap into what is resonant to you and your soul during this time. So if you truly feel like something is meant for you to explore, then explore it, okay? Don't let someone else tell you that it's wrong or it's bad or you shouldn't be doing it, okay? It's about discernment, really coming back to yourself and seeing what's true for yourself. And I also really believe that it's important to open up our scope here, right? To see these different lenses and these different perceptions of light language itself, of channeling, of whatever it is that you're really getting into. So I'm just going to be sharing what I know and what I've heard from others, and just my own personal experience kind of waking up to this even deeper than my what is light language video, which you can find up there. But overall, I just really want to share some truths about the matter, because it's really confusing and it's definitely a very lonely journey. So if you're ready to journey on in this video with me, make sure you like and subscribe if you aren't already. It truly does support me. I just love you all so much. So the first thing that I really want to talk about is my experience into actually speaking light language. Light language came to me without me knowing it was called light language. It was so much more intuitive movement. I found myself doing things like with my arms and with my hands, and I could feel just energy surging through my body. And it's not like surging like super intense, but it's like, you know, the goosebumps, or just like you can feel energy moving throughout your body. It was so helpful for me to really just move through my body and through my emotions while using my hands in different like mudras and imaginatory ways of like moving and shifting my energy just through dance and through my whole body. It was really exciting for me to tap into that. It felt so liberating. It felt so easy for me. Now, disclaimer, I come from a dance background, so it was just so natural for me to tap into that aspect of light language first rather than drawing it, because I am not an artist. But I know a lot of artists out there that when they get into light language, a lot of them will start speaking it, or they'll start even just drawing it out as these beautiful symbols and light codes. So for me, it definitely came through as a dance, and I even have a few videos maybe that I'll put down in the description box below that were my first ever light language videos of me just kind of moving through my body, these transmissions of energy, just to allow us to help us express a lot deeper. And they were just to music. It was powerful. It was a wonderful way for me to just naturally move through emotions and to inspire others to do that. And I really do believe that light language truly helps to inspire and tap into that resonant part of the soul, you know, in that present moment. So whatever it is that you are meant to receive in that moment when you're watching, listening, or even just doing light language, and doing, yeah, I guess that might be the right word, but like channeling light language, it's meant for you in the present moment. So even when I do my healing light journeys, or I used to do these personal light language transmissions where people will just kind of give me specific questions or just a general intention for the session, and I would just set up my camera, call upon, you know, their guides and their ancestors and their angels and cosmic beings of the highest light, bring that all the way in, and really just help try and translate and communicate in the form of light language to really just transmit energy and information. Light language truly is information, but not in the way that a language offers, if that makes sense. It goes so much deeper. And that's why I almost really am starting to believe that light language is not the right word or term for this type of healing and being and expressing our soul's essence, okay? It's really not a language, and it's not just light. We are not just, offering this energy transmission through light. We're offering it through sound and just the wavelengths, right? It's so much deeper than this term, but I know I use this because it is most commonly used for how we're seeing it expressed in our time today, because everything evolves, and I really truly believe light language has been here, but it's evolved into this name. I've done so much research, you guys, and I'm still diving deeper to see where the roots are of, okay, who even called it light language in the first place, right? So I'm in the process right now, and hopefully if you're watching this a lot later, I'll have a little bit more information in the description box below. If I find anything, I will definitely put it in this video, because it's so fascinating to really just tap into our own codes and drops. And these codes and drops are like your own little realizations and connections, right, between aspects of life and what we give meaning to. So light language itself, the name doesn't really resonate, because we're not necessarily offering information in the way that I'm talking to you right now in English, okay? We're offering it on such a deeper level. We're not just sending it to the conscious mind and to the ear, but we're sending it to the body itself, to the soul. We're sending it to the heart. We're sending it to the subconscious mind. We're sending it to the entire radiant energy body here. It's super powerful. And when using it with the proper intention, and not even proper, but your pure intention, what does it mean for you? What does it offer you? How does it feel to channel it through? What's happening? Start asking yourself these questions. I didn't really ask myself these questions until after I started speaking it. So I saw other people kind of moving and flowing in that way. I was like, holy cow, I'm doing the exact same thing. That's crazy. And then I started to look into light language and see that people were actually vocalizing this energy transmission, right? And really just seeing that was so fascinating. It just tapped something within me. I knew it was one of those things where it was I need to be doing this. I can do this. It looks difficult because it's so unfamiliar and it's a little scary in that sense. But at the same time, it made me feel like home, and maybe a lot of you will resonate with that. I know in the comment section, I always read all your comments, and I truly appreciate it. So yeah, just let me know, does it feel like home to you when you listen to it or when you channel it yourself? Or is it just something that taps into your curiosity? What does it remind you of? Really tap into that why. For me, I just was kind of going on a whim, and I contacted this beautiful woman who was sharing it on Instagram, and I was like, holy cow, I really resonate with this, tell me more about it. And she just really suggested watching more, and the more I watched, the more as time passed, I was beginning to understand on a deeper level what was actually happening here. I knew that I was channeling through something, but I didn't know exactly what that meant. So there's a couple ways that we can look at channeling, right? We can see channeling as a way of bringing, some other form or entity within to share their information. We're not necessarily in control in that way. That is not how I believe channeling is to be today. I personally don't think that's very safe to just allow your consciousness to leave your body in that way, or just your energy to leave your body in that way, because you are still there, but also this other spirit is still there, and it gets a little messy. And I don't see that as necessary to channel through and send information, or even just deliver information. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that show. It's an older show. I don't even know what it's on, but it's called Ghost Whisperer. And basically, this woman, she really tapped into her psychic ability to see spirits and ghosts that are around, and they would come to her as she began like noticing them and helping them just really pass on or just make peace, or deliver their messages. They would start just kind of popping up and being there. And maybe some of you have this experience. I know it's a real thing, right? We're not just like, this is real. But overall, she would just try to help, and they would kind of pop up and ask her to do things for them. And this was like really cool because she didn't have to necessarily like let their spirit come into her vessel to communicate to their loved one whatever they wanted to tell them. No, she could just communicate in that way, almost like a conversation, or just being a translator, right? Being that that conduit, or that middle, the messenger, right? Just being the messenger. So that's truly what I believe channeling is. We're not necessarily letting anything in, but we're consciously making a choice. Our intuition kind of helps us sort things out, and our discernment sorts things out, right? And we can choose what to share. And that's really how I truly believe light language, it does work, but at such a deep level that it it happens so much more naturally. So even if I say I'm doing a video transmission, and a lot of the information that comes through, it's like, I didn't even know I was going to say that, like words are coming through, you're in the zone, right? Or if you create anything, you have any type of passion and you're just in the zone and everything's just kind of clicking and sparking, you're like, yeah, all right, that's you just tapping into your own source. And when I share transmission, that's me tapping into my own source. But here's the thing, it's not you or my, it's us, okay? It's this oneness, this source, God consciousness that we are connected to. So that is us being a channel or a stream of source consciousness. So it's not necessarily us like being taken over by anything. Like, no, this is you and your sovereignty. Are you actually conscious of what you're doing? Like, are you aware that you're like speaking light language, that you're channeling anything through, right? Are you aware that it's happening? Are you able to choose the type of information that you're kind of sending through? And if your intention is to really just channel through beings or information or what have you of the purest and highest light with unconditional love for all beings with no exception, right? Because some beings from certain star systems, it's just like Earth, right? We have our humans that are like the good ones, right? And we have the ones that are, not so great, right? The ones that have a specific agenda that's not for the highest good of everyone. And then those of us that really just want us all to have the best case scenario. So that's the same in these other star systems. So when we're connecting with, say, like the Arcturians or the Lyrans or the Pleiadians, whoever or whatever, even just angels, right? Your guides, even your ancestors, connecting with your ancestors as well. You really want to tap into those of the highest and purest light with unconditional love for all beings with no exception. And you can phrase that however you want. That's just kind of how I like to understand it. And you set that standard, right? You set that standard for what you are willing to connect with. And you can also call upon your angels to help you really just create a light shield around your being and really practice that energetic strength that I'd like to talk about a lot in videos, to really allow yourself to remember who you are, know your sovereignty, and your consent is everything, okay? You need to be able to consent to something, hijacking you, okay? You need to be able to consent to this other entity or spirit or being or what have you to kind of do this without your consent. Like, that's you saying, I fear you, I'm giving my power to you, so therefore you can do this. Like, no, if some beings trying to come through and they're like, hey, I want to send this message through, or just like your intuition is just kind of like, ooh, oh my gosh, like this is it, right? You are in that really quick, and for some of us it's quick, for some of us it's a little bit slower, that process of consenting to that information that you're giving out. And sometimes it just comes out of our mouth and we have to like kind of rephrase or just check back and see what's going on. But I really do believe it's the same with light language. And for me, light language overall, what I'm trying to explain here was that I wasn't just letting like cosmic beings come in and like make me just like unconsciously start speaking this stuff. Like, no, it was coming from my soul because I'm connected with these star systems and these cosmic beings and the angels and, you know, my own guides and ancestors in that way. So it's almost like a compilation of my soul that's really coming through when I'm channeling light language. And I can pinpoint kind of the energies, the more dominant energies that are arriving there. But it's such a co-creative experience, light language. Now that I'm just realizing this, it's very co-creative and really magical, and it feels really good. So when we start to see a lot of projections of people just really fearing it and thinking that it's like tongues and all this other stuff, and putting these, you know, connotations and just these meanings on light language that it's like evil or just, you know, what have you, right? We can look back in our religious texts and see where it comes from and see that it's really just when someone's overwhelmed by the power of God, right? When we are just really connected so deeply with Source itself. And that's truly what light language ends up being. And what's beautiful about it is that we're not just like, we're not just like letting it go. Like, we're really feeling the bliss within our own soul and realizing that our soul is an extension of Source, right? So super beautiful kind of realization there after the fact, after me like speaking it, thinking that I was like doing it wrong. So backing up a little bit, when I started speaking it, because of the way other people were speaking it and vocalizing it and expressing it, you know, through their throats, I thought I wasn't doing it right because I didn't sound like them, or I wasn't doing specific hand motions that they were, or having the same kind of mannerisms. But the thing is that I didn't realize until my mentor actually mentioned, like, hey, it's going to be completely personal to you because this is coming from your soul. Okay, this is how you express personally. And we all have this ability within us. It's a universal language, right? Of our soul. It's just sound, it's light, it's energy, right? So me just being able to be like, oh, okay, like I'm allowed to do whatever feels good, right? And not try to control it, because when you try to control it, it just, you start to doubt it so much and there's a lot of fear around it. And like I always say, Source cannot be controlled and it cannot flow within that control and in that container. So it's really allowing yourself the mystery, right? To just open up and see what happens and kind of surrender to yourself, right? And releasing those judgments and those beliefs. A lot of the process when I was beginning to really open up to my own personal expression in this way that, you know, I had no idea what I was doing. Honestly, I had no idea, right? I was just kind of, my mentor was kind of helping me understand it a little bit more and like help me kind of open up and practice. And she would just recommend like doing it once a day, like connecting with my guides or just myself or whatever I wanted to connect with in that moment, or just like simply allow whatever would happen to happen. And sometimes the light language came through and sometimes it didn't. And that was really a beautiful learning process, because so much resistance and so much doubt and judgment and even just inner child wounds and beliefs were coming up in that time, and they still do today. And it's just so incredible to look back and see that, okay, yeah, I was really scared to express myself for so long when I was a kid. So of course this felt really cagey. Like I felt good because it was different than, you know, what my family was doing, my siblings were doing, or a lot of people that I saw. Like it felt so personal to me. So I felt like I had to do it for myself. I had to kind of let things go so I could just completely see what would happen, because it was so new and unknown. So it was definitely an experience being able to share. And the one thing that really, really did help me was sharing here on YouTube, and especially sharing on Instagram first, and just sharing with my close loved ones that, you know, were open to it. That was really nice to be able to see that I wasn't alone in the process. And this just comes to that part of light language that you guys may relate to, if you're kind of getting into it, or if you feel like you're really resonant to it. Just this epic, it's like this intense loneliness. Speaking this or expressing it or being into it, it's tough and it's real, okay? Because it's so, like, right now it's so much more well known in the spiritual community. Like, there's still more to be learned, but when I was starting, like, I only knew about 2, maybe 3 people that were speaking light language, and it was scary because I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't have anyone, you know, at arm's length to just talk to and express. So it was so, like, I'm so grateful to my mentor Zena at the time. It was so nice to just have someone there to be like, you're not crazy, you got this, and that would just like kind of speak it to me. And just being in that bubble of listening to other people, especially my friend Esther, which I'll probably bring her on for a live at some point. Just being able to see her share it and just dive into it as well, it was really inspiring. That was a massive part, is just that support from people that were like, hey, you're not alone. And it was so pure and just so loving, you know? It was like always getting a hug, and I felt so good after. I felt like I had someone by my side during this process. So that was definitely a big plus to be really opening up, and which is why it really helped me accelerate in that way to be able to share it in the way that I wanted to, because I definitely found that light language at first for me, I didn't necessarily feel it when I was channeling it. I was more so bringing through information, and I thought it was like I just had to know exactly what it was, and that wasn't the case. It was getting to a deeper part of me that would be revealed in time. So with that realization, I began kind of channeling for other people and started reflecting and seeing how they were feeling, but I wasn't feeling while I was channeling light language. And that was because it was more informational. So when I started doing my healing light journeys, which are just journeys where I take you on a little guided meditation and we have some music playing, and I really just channel through some pure source energy with light language as well, if called specifically for you during that time, with the assistance of your angels and your guides, so, and your ancestors. But so with that coming up and reflecting on those experiences that my clients have had there and my own experience, I was actually feeling what was happening as I was bringing through that energy. And this was a big realization, and like a really cool thing to realize was that as a healer, you are allowing yourself to feel it, right? But when you're just channeling through information, the other person's gonna feel it, but you're not gonna feel it because you're just the messenger there, right? You're not the person like bringing it through your body and kind of moving it around, because we are all one. And I really think that's how some of healings really go. But that was a really interesting thing that I found out and really resonated with based on my own experience. And this could be different for you guys. I don't necessarily practice Reiki. I never really learned Reiki, and I'm aware of it, but I've really just been playing around with energy for a long time and taking care of myself and remembering who I am, and on this, spiritual journey to just really become whole and one with source in all ways that I can, right? And this like energy healing was definitely something that just was birthed within me. And yeah, so let me know how it is for anyone that actually does Reiki. Like, do you feel it in your hands and in your body? Do you see things, when you're channeling it through? Just notice and let me know, because I'm really curious, and I think it's very, very fascinating. And especially as someone that didn't learn Reiki but is offering more energetic kind of balancing and alignment services, so totally let me know. But that definitely came a lot later, as I was finding that I wasn't necessarily meant to only speak light language or do the movements. It was really cool to open myself up to how I could actually express manifest this and to see what these specific sounds were actually attuned to and what they were connected to when I would start singing. So I started singing, as you guys have noticed, and like whistling and making like different noises. The noises and the singing is most resonant with me as I continue to learn and grow through this light language. I'm finding myself doing less and less of the speaking, which I'll do for myself sometimes as like little reminders and as, you know, just helping me kind of reprogram core beliefs that are false, or just really just check in with the subconscious mind in any way. I'll even think in light language sometimes, like it's really cool. But overall, I'll do that. But when I'm sharing with other people, I'm finding myself doing the sounds more and more of kind of like the movement a little bit more. And I think only because that's more resonant with the whole, and that's really coming from my ancestors and my guides as well. So I'm really seeing how I'm beginning to encompass many aspects of myself, and light language isn't just something where we just do it and we don't really tap into where it comes from. I really do highly suggest tapping into where this comes from, like this little unique dialect that you have within you, right? It really does sound like a compilation of so many different languages and sounds because it's within us, right? So, I mean, theories, it could be really linked to past lives that you've had, right? It could be linked to that and your ancestors and any part of your ancestors in the cosmos. You know, this is everything that your soul is encompassing during this time. So just keeping that in mind, that you can really dive into and begin like asking yourself where these things are coming from. Why does it sound like this, you know? Sometimes when we speak it, it's not always the same, and you'll notice that with my videos myself, or if you channel yourself, we don't always channel it in the same way. It's different. So why don't we start asking ourselves these questions of, okay, hey, like, what am I tapping into right now? Like, what aspect of myself am I tapping into? What wants to be expressed in the here, present moment and now? Oof, goosebumps. But yes, what wants to be expressed? Really dive into it, okay? It's important to begin honoring yourself in all aspects. That means yes, your guides, yes, your angels, yes, source, yes, your ancestors from the stars, and here down below. Okay, so honoring your connections, it's so important. And this is an aspect that we have forgotten, especially with light language. You're not really diving into much the history of it or seeing where our own history of it is. Tapping into that. And in my experience today, that's definitely where I'm at right now, is really just honing in, okay, what are these aspects of and expressions of self? Really tuning into it, and not just intellectually, right? We're not just wanting to understand. It's also just having that knowing within and tapping into your intuition for what is real. So it's definitely this marrying of the head and the heart, right? Energies here. We can allow the head to really begin working deeply with our heart and our soul. It just takes practice. But overall, what I really wanted to share was that a lot came up and a lot continues to come up as we begin working with light language. Even if you receive it or watch any one of my light language videos, you'll notice, some of you, right? There's a shift that happens, and that's because it was meant to happen. Something was unlocked within you, something was tapped into, or something is beginning to be brought up and brushed up within your life because of that transmission. Okay, so light language is really powerful in that way. So really being discerning when you're listening, like, is this like the right time? Does it feel good? And if it does, and it's completely divine, and you're like, I'm gonna turn it on and just watch and see what happens. Like, you could either be feeling something during that moment or nothing at all. But it's within the days, the weeks, the months that follow that determine how this light language actually affects you. And it's honestly, it's your choice whether or not to take these codes, right, and begin implementing them or begin unlocking parts of you that are just really one with source. And it's not always, rainbows and butterflies. It can be really dark and daunting as well. Light language was definitely something that brought me to a dark place for a little while and had me looking at these different parts of me and different beliefs that were like really scary, like even looking back, I can't even think of like one specifically, but I remember definitely diving into a couple fears, especially some deep fears of just channeling in general and just being really scared of what was happening or what would happen if I listened to a light language transmission. Like, I just feared so much, and that was just because of my experiences as a kid and as a teenager, and definitely some experiences in past lives as well. So, it's a compilation of everything, and it's all being healed as we continue to experience and set those intentions and do the inner work. It's fun. Eventually, it just really does become fun. Overall, that was definitely a big point I wanted to make, was that light language isn't just supposed to make you feel all bubbly, right? It's meant to really unlock something within you and serve you and your soul in the present moment. That's why it's a universal language, okay? This energy, like it transcends time and space completely. So really just allowing yourself to understand that when you begin watching or receiving or channeling any light language for yourself. And honestly, if you do channel light language already in any sort of form, you can continue to return to it. If you write it, you can even just record yourself just for yourself. Just do it. This is something that I did that was really, really helpful. Just record yourself speaking it or expressing it in any way that you see fit for your soul and watch it over and over and over, or listen to it over and over and over and over again, and see what happens. See how different the experience is from time to time. Just really observe and experience your own magic, especially if you don't feel anything while you're channeling it, because that was me. I didn't really feel that much because I was bringing through information and I needed to receive it. And oftentimes when we just kind of channel it through, we'll receive it sometimes, but for me, it's a lot easier for me to rewatch it so that I can be fully present with it, instead of, especially in those moments where my intuition is being questioned by my ego or my mind, and they're like, oh, are you sure this is what wants to come through? When I start kind of translating it, I know some of you may be able to translate it and just begin to understand it a little bit, right? Sometimes our mind and our ego will be like, no, intuition, like, you don't really know what's going on. What if it's wrong? Like, no, just say it, see what happens. Do it anyway. See the fear and do it anyway. And remembering that you are a sovereign being. You are completely free. Okay? Nothing can take over your energy or tap into you without your consent. Let that be so. And if you really want to tap into more of your protection powers and really just dive into some more empathic advice, then you can definitely check my video up there. I highly suggest listening to that, and I also offer a light language transmission at the end to kind of help you awaken that within you and tap into that within you, because we all have our own practices and ways of protecting ourselves and strengthening our energy and just reminding ourselves of who we are. That's just what all of this is all about, right? We're just literally remembering who we are. We're remembering that we are a part of the natural world. We're remembering that we have a multitude of lives, like our soul has been through so much, and we're here just to experience and express fully, because when we express in the present moment, in the now, we are actually healing and creating ripples and just so many beautiful timelines to come. And we all have just such a divine mission here. So I just want to thank you all. Let me know if you guys have any other questions about light language or anything that I talked about. I know it was a lot and it might have been all over the place, but this is just truly what wanted to come through, and I wanted to just clear up the air on some things and share a little bit about how this came about for me. So I'll be sharing a lot more about light language. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for receiving me. Make sure you press like and make sure you comment down below what resonated if you have questions. Also subscribe if you have not already. I'm sending you guys so much love. I will see you in another video. Mwah.